as entrepreneurs, we want to make a difference. And the only way we make a difference is by getting our message out to the right people. I have a remarkable entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. He's gone turnkey on businesses. He's done all kinds of things, but the main business he's done is helping fellow entrepreneurs really make a huge impact. And when I first started working on video and using today's tools, the internet, this entrepreneur I turned to. I've gone to many of his programs, bought all his books. You want to stay tuned if you've ever been frustrated that the right people aren't being inspired to work with you. I'm John Bowen. We're at aesnation.com. It's all about accelerating your success. And stay tuned. We're going to really accelerate today.
No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep. Think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Mike Koenigs, I am so excited to have you here. You're back from a trip to Uganda just a day or two ago. So to have you here, and you've been one of my mentors along the way on this internet stuff and marketing, and have learned so much from you, Mike, and I want to share with you, with our audience. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, John. Thanks. It really is, and it's nice to be back home in beautiful San Diego. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, there are. I have spent a little time in Africa as well, and in some rough spots, where there was not a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton. And when you come back, it's great to be able to make a difference. We'll touch on the difference you're making over there in a little bit. But, that whole appreciating home, we live in a great time to be an entrepreneur in a great place, America. You and I don't know, sometimes, Mike, we have the best state. You and I are both in California. I'm in Northern, you're in Southern. It does try to kill entrepreneurs along the way, but we're going to make a difference. And one of the things, Mike, I love, a whole bunch of connections I've met, people that I'm working with who have helped me do what I'm doing, and kind of the roadmap you've done. And I've been at meetings where I've met people. I mean, this podcast wouldn't have happened without you and Paul Culligan. I do a lot of research. I have one of the people you work with, Jeannie Herbert, is doing all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, you've made a real big difference in my life. And the part I love is you've helped so many entrepreneurs. I mean, I think you've got now 300 books of that you've helped other entrepreneurs do. And this is why I want to have you on, because you make things happen. And it's not only you having success, but entrepreneurs exploding. But, Mike, I want to get a backstory. How did you wake up one morning, I'm going to go change the world one entrepreneur at a time. How did you get here?
Well, the short version is I grew up in a little tiny town called Eagle Lake, Minnesota. It's in south central Minnesota, about 2 hours south of Minneapolis, St. Paul. My dad is a barber. He was raised in a very poor farm environment. Joined the military basically to get off the farm because he's the youngest son, expected to stay behind. And he ended up learning how to cut hair. In addition to being a good entertainer, he plays the guitar. He's a very good vocalist. And I grew up with a dad who worked a minimum of 5 to 7 jobs. And I very quickly learned that although my dad was my hero and I saw him work all the time, he certainly inspired me to become an entrepreneur. I didn't want his life, and I didn't want to be stuck trading time for money, which is effectively what a barber is. And, in a little tiny town like that, you're lucky if you're getting paid or making $10 a haircut. And even these days, he's 77 years old. He still cuts hair part-time. At this point now, he's doing it because he wants to, not because he has to. And he has 4 kids to clothe and feed. But I was horrible at school. Barely passed high school. Definitely have authority issues. I was raised a Catholic, and I never really identified with that. But what wound up happening is I I wasn't good at sports either. I wasn't really a great team player. And I know today, after going through some brain training and realizing I am severe ADHD, a pretty typical entrepreneur. And I just couldn't sit still. I'm a kinesthetic learner. So I had to learn how to learn on my own because there weren't tools and resources available to me. But I did teach myself how to program when I was about 14 years old on an Apple II that a neighbor loaned to us. We couldn't afford a computer. And from there, I started consulting. And from there, I started building my own computers and selling them and starting another consulting business, which led into starting an online interactive ad agency. It was called Digital Cafe in Minneapolis. I sold that in 1999 to a publicly traded company. And along the way, there were lots and lots of failures. It wasn't like there was peaches and cream along the way. It was a struggle. But after that, I got introduced to direct response marketing. I studied infomercials, and I started creating my own information products. Dan Kennedy was one of my early mentors. I bought all of his books and many of his products. And from there, I started interviewing other experts and authorities to create and make my own information products, which then led to me creating a software company. I ended up teaching other people how to start their own businesses, how to do video marketing online, social media marketing as that came in vogue, mobile marketing. And this past year in October, I ended up selling that series of companies to another publicly traded company. So the net is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm also an active philanthropist, and I've got a 12-year-old son, or at least he's 12 as of today. And as you mentioned, I just came back from Uganda. So my life's mission and purpose, I found, is to help create as many entrepreneurs as I possibly can before I pass. And I really think that if we want to stabilize the planet, if we want to stabilize economies, it comes from helping people start and grow their own businesses. I do not believe in big government. I don't believe in big fancy religion to solve our problems. I think it really comes from communities and individuals who want to make a difference and are built to serve and sometimes struggle in trying to figure out how to do that profitably. And, I'm busy. I started another company a week after my employment agreement ended with my new organization, and now I'm focused on online interactive television.
Yeah, no, Mike, I mean, you've been keeping busy.
No
question about that at all. And what I love is, you've really kind of taken this journey of the online side and you've learned yourself because you had to of how to build that credibility, the authority, so that you are the expert in this space. And I was just recently in Toronto at a strategic coach session. Dan Sullivan. Dan is my coach, one of my coaches. I got a whole bunch of coaches.
I'm heading there on Monday.
Oh, are you?
I'm
Okay.
in a week, or actually a week from that.
Yeah, and JJ Virgin, who is a mutual friend of both of our. And we were just doing one of the exercises together, and JJ, who has really done a phenomenal job of positioning herself, had just was telling me, how much she enjoyed working with you and the impact of doing what we're going to talk about, the webcast. Right. Just huge. But, so some of you know JJ Virgin. She is a very successful health. I'm going to put her in the health and wellness fitness area. She's written a number of New York Times bestselling books. And I've watched her, really over the last 5-6 years just explode and just hugely successful and well-deserved success. But the reason why I'm bringing her up, Mike, is that, this podcast is really all about people who already have success in their businesses. I mean, typically 5 million or more revenue. And boy, I felt like a kid in a candy store when I first met you, because you had all these tools, because you're doing the harder thing of helping people who don't yet have success, get success. And, it's so easy to take what you're doing. And, why don't we talk about that authority building? Because you've done it, where it's harder, where you don't already have that traction. Now that you have the traction as an entrepreneur, everyone who's watching this and listening to this, boy, you don't know the opportunities you have today. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur.
Right. Well, I think the kind of the way to lead into this, and I'm much like you, now that I've spent so much time helping, beginning entrepreneurs, I've decided to make that the focus of my charitable work and my next business. Now I'm really focusing on people who have businesses, much like you are, only because I figure now that I've got books and products, I can provide those to people who are just starting out and now actively be involved with the new business builders. But the quick and dirty version of this, I would say, is right now is the greatest moment in human history, in my opinion. And the main reason is it is absolutely possible with nothing more than a mobile smartphone to be able to rapidly create high quality content, distribute it so you can be seen, heard, viewed, listened to, read on any device, anytime, anywhere in the world. And right now there's almost 4 billion internet connected smartphones in use worldwide. I know, a few years ago when I went to Uganda for the first time, there would be a chief in a small village that would have an old school Nokia phone. And now you got kids over there, and you got to put into perspective that for the most part, a working Ugandan, and unemployment's crazy high, those people are surviving on about $100 to $150 per month, okay? And these folks have smartphones, okay? So the point being, it's possible to not only create content and be seen, heard, read, viewed anytime, anywhere, any device on demand, but also conduct commerce with them as well. And so when you think about it, it truly is a moment where we can all be conducting business, selling information and products and support and help, or using these as vehicles to create a deeper connection and bond with anyone. So the point being, the real question is, what is your message? What's your channel? And who's your market? And if you figure those things out, it is absolutely practical to say, hey, look, I'm going to create some content right now. I'm going to make an audio podcast. I can make a video podcast. I can distribute for free on social media. I can transcribe it. I can rapidly turn it into a book. I can use Amazon as a distribution vehicle. I can take that same content and narrate it as an ebook and an audio book. I can turn it into a paperback book and leverage what effectively is free distribution. And someone who listens to an audio podcast is going to be someone who different from a person who watches a video podcast. A paperback book buyer on Amazon is different from someone who buys a paperback book in a bookstore, who is going to be different than someone who reads a Kindle book. So there certainly is overlap, but the fact that you can create once, distribute everywhere on any device and any channel at an unprecedented free, it's free. And
the cost,
it's insane.
You have some expensive equipment. I have, the next level down type. But even a video podcast, a simple one using, high quality webcams, for a few $100, maybe, with software, if you're doing switching and so on,
Right.
a couple $1,000, audio, a few $100 doing, it used to be you had to hire a ghost writer, and now you can have a writer. You're the author. You have the insights, our fellow entrepreneurs, and the world has changed so much where I can still remember the first book I published, Mike. I hired someone to help me write. It was back in the early 90s. I think I paid $50,000. It
Yep.
was a year project. It was just, it was terrible. I got one of the first year publishers to take a risk with me. I think I got a $10,000 signing bonus type thing.
Yeah.
And it might have been a little more than that, but it wasn't much. And then I had to wait another year for the book to come out, and it did change my life. It was huge, and I've sold a couple businesses, and books have always been a big reason why I've done that. And it attracted the right clients. It really positioned itself. But today, I do probably about 7 books a year. I think you do more than me. And certainly we both have clients who are doing a lot. How do you, people, they hear guys like you and me, and they say, you know what, you're different. You're a little weird. You can do that. You got ADD, all that other stuff. how do you help someone when they first come to you? You know, they got a successful business. They want to be a hero to a group. They've already got the group there. They've got some great messaging already. You know, they've got so much to share. You know, you and I look at them and go, "You got a great book," and then you can use all the different things that you've been talking about. How do you help them get to that point? I mean, what's the best track for them?
Well, the bottom line shortcut is what I tell people is, if you are passionate about something, if you like to help people and you can answer questions, you can write the majority of the content for a book without even lifting your key, typing or lifting a pen, and get the majority of your content done in about a half a day to 6 hours. And a lot of people say, well, that's a bunch of bull, and I'll prove it in a moment. But my first book I wrote while I had cancer. I was laying in the fetal position, waking up in a pile of my hair with less than an hour of strength a day, and I dictated the content for my first book in my iPhone, and then had it transcribed and edited. And from the time I had the idea until it was written, published, and a category bestseller on Amazon, took less than 30 days. And my most recent book, from the time I had the idea until it was published and a #1 bestseller on Amazon again, was 4 days. And that included illustrations. So, and I'm not saying that to brag, but I've helped people do the same thing themselves who never imagined themselves being on.
Yeah, no, I say, Mike, you're raising the bar. I mean, I know how hard the cancer was for you, and to have completed a book, and you had a business that was good, that could run well without you, and you certainly had some good teammates that were taking good care of it. But I mean, this is we're all busy, but it doesn't take that much time to do this, and the power of writing books and repurposing. We're going to talk about how you can repurpose this. This is just, it's life changing. And the one thing I love, I work not only with entrepreneurs here at AES Nation, but we also have another business working with top financial advisors, and we've helped them write hundreds of books and so on too. And the idea, everybody says, "Oh, I can't do it," but once they do it and they find how easy it is, it's a life changing.
It is.
So
So here's the do you want the short formula? Okay.
Yes.
So the formula I've been teaching for years is actually the same formula I've taught for rapidly creating online content as well, like videos. So what I usually do, and the first time we did this in mass, we had an audience of about 30. It was, in fact, exactly 38 people, and we produced a product with this audience, and our outcome was to help people write their first book in as little as a week. Some of them did it in about 24 hours. And the first thing that people say is, well, it's impossible to write a good book in a short period of time. And I would say it's actually not hard if you sit down and someone asked you right now, what are the top 10 questions that you answer all the time in your existing business, and then write down the top 10 most powerful strategic concepts that you have found have enabled you to become as successful as you are, or enabled your products to be as good as they are. And if you brainstorm those, most people can brainstorm the frequently asked questions and what we call the should ask questions, or the most important strategic ideas, in about 10 to 20 minutes, because they've been asked those forever. And so getting back to, it's impossible to write a good book in a short period of time. The fact is, it's taken you your lifetime, or maybe decades, to figure out what works. What are the big levers that you're pushing all the time? How do you move big boulders? What makes you able to consistently produce measurable results, millions of dollars in revenue per year, or massive results for your clients? But if someone just sat down and interviewed you, you can probably answer all 20 questions in usually 2.5 to 6 hours. That's what we've found. And a 4-hour interview translates into roughly 100 pages of content. And because you're so articulate and you're able to teach and educate and feel and be passionate about what it is you know, if that's just recorded. Let's say you can use your voice recorder on your iPhone or your Android device. You can send that off to be transcribed. There's a service I use called rev.com. So they have an app that you can actually record your audio, and you can do a question at a time and press a button. It's immediately sent to be transcribed for about $1 per minute. So let's just say that in an afternoon, you can come up with the top 20 questions, answer those in an interview format. And if you can't interview yourself, have someone do it with you so you feel like you're actually communicating with them. And you're speaking in first person as though you're speaking to your best client or customer, your target audience. That content will be transcribed in under 24 hours. You can find someone on any website like Elance or any freelance site who will edit that content and make it book worthy and turn it into something that reads like a book instead of just a conversation or interview. They can usually turn that around in anywhere from a couple of days to a couple weeks max. Do all the grammar. Again, make it perfect for under $1,000, and you've got yourself a book, because each interview question is a chapter in the book. And the only other stuff you got to add is your brief story about who you are and why you do what you do, and maybe an end story as well to wrap this all up. But that becomes the foundation of your first book, which again, you can upload to Amazon for free as a Kindle book. You can upload it as a paperback book through Amazon's Create Space program, which they print on demand. And the other thing that Amazon has is something called ACX. So then what I usually do is I sit down and actually read my book into a microphone. Again, you could do that with cheap equipment. A $100 microphone is just fine. And now you've got an audiobook, and Amazon will sell that for you. iTunes on Apple will sell that. You can put it on Google, on the Google Play distribution network, and there's other networks as well. But that effectively makes you an author. And here's the dirty little secret that a lot of people don't talk about is you can get anywhere from 40 to 200 people you already know in your network. Let them know ahead of time that your new book is out, and just say, would you please click and buy my Kindle book? You send them some email. You hound them a little bit to do it, and write a nice review about your book for you. But boom, if you can get anywhere between about 40 and 200 copies sold in 24 hours, you will be a #1 best-selling author. And that will take you to places you can't imagine in terms of getting media exposure, speaking engagements, maybe getting on a TEDx talk, and that exposure creates a massive amount of momentum and authority and expert builder status for you that, your employees will have more pride in your business and in you knowing that you're a best-selling author. It's the perfect business card, and it's the perfect thing to give away if you're at trade shows and events. And again, what it does is it allows you to indoctrinate an audience and create a deeper connection and a bond with your ideal customer.
Mike, I mean, there's so much stuff that we can talk about. I can go on and on. You can go on and on. I want to dive in that, we're talking about, we've got the ability to reach the masses now through technology, and you are one of the guys that I have just followed all along and tried to keep up with, and you've made it pretty easy. So what are you working on now that will help us? We built this great content that we can really get it out to the, not only our clients, but our prospective clients, and continue to accelerate our success even more.
Sure. Well, the way to intro this is I have a tendency to build businesses that eventually I get just tired of what I'm doing, and my business doesn't really need me anymore. I've got, the infrastructure, I got the people hired, and I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So fortunately, I was able to package my last businesses and sell them to that publicly traded company. And what I really wanted to do next is focus 100% on building a live, interactive online television network, because I think the concept of doing webcasting not only has reached the perfect time, meaning right now YouTube/Google has YouTube Live, so we can create and do broadcasts for 5 or 5,000, 50,000. They even say 500,000 to a couple million simultaneous viewers for free. And I think we're in the midst of a fantastic renaissance where all of media has been and is being disrupted in ways that most of the world still doesn't even realize how it's going to affect them. but it's a completely unregulated business. So we can start a network. We can create, a 24-hour infomercial channel, for example. We can educate, we can entertain, we can engage. And again, that content can be recorded, repurposed in any format, and delivered to any device on demand. So the key thing, though, is the interactivity. And what I think is so important and valuable is if you imagined right now that you could start a program, and unlike a traditional webinar, a live interactive feed like we have right now that could be delivered to a mobile phone or a tablet or a computer desktop with chat and a buy button. But what's important is the level of intimacy you have is unprecedented, meaning, and I'll give you an example, a practical example, because our mutual friend JJ Virgin started coming to my studio and doing webcasts. So she recently did a webcast here, and we managed to push her latest book to a New York Times bestseller status by selling not only the book, but some additional products. We've also brought in as many as 9 professionals and done the equivalent of a PBS special. So imagine having 9 PBS specials strung back to back with other doctors, nutritionists, professionals in the health, nutrition, fitness, personal development space. But what JJ said to me after doing a few of these is she said, I learned more in 2 hours about my customers and my prospects than I did in 10 years of surveying and selling to them, because while I'm presenting, I'm able to ask a question and see their reactions and their responses in real time. And those people don't have to worry about interrupting me. So if you're having a one-on-one conversation, you have to pick up on subtle cues like body language and interruptions and the kind of questions, and people want to be polite. But online, people aren't polite necessarily when you are doing a webcast, because they're going to tell you exactly what they think while they're thinking about it. And what you're able to do is see unedited information coming at you, meaning if you've got 50 or 500 people, they're going to tell you what they're thinking, and you start seeing these patterns. Well, those patterns then allow you to shape your messaging. They allow you to shape your pitch if you're doing a presentation that involves a sale. If you're doing training or education, you're able to adjust, and you can also start noticing what your existing customers are saying versus people you don't recognize, which would most likely be your prospects. So now you learn so much, and again, you can adjust and learn how to read this. It's sort of like you've got super ESP powers and you can mind read in real time. And the net result is, again, you could use this for just pure content creation. You can use it if you want to, let's say, create product on the fly. But in our case, we've been using it for selling. I know you use it as well. So we're right now generating anywhere from $100 to $150, sometimes as much as $500 per average viewer on a webcast, because people are so engaged. And when they hear you speaking directly to them or mentioning their name, they get even more engaged. So this is unprecedented power. Compare that to television. Compare it to radio. There's nothing like it. Compare it to the home shopping network, for example. Instead of selling a low-end product, a cheap product, to essentially what I would consider a low-end prospect or customer, here you can get best of breed. And people from all over the world can be watching and buying from you, or initiating a sales call, for example. And that's why I think it's so powerful and why I'm so in love with it, because I think this is the biggest opportunity since the internet has been created to share a message, create content, and sell products and services.
Yeah, and Mike, I so agree. I mean, I'm doing it. I'm my financial advisor. I'm doing weekly webinars. I'm doing video conferences. I am not doing live streaming, so I got to get doing that with you. But I have the ability to have chat real time while we're doing it, and then and with entrepreneurs, we're doing it in the virtual conference series that we're doing, and it's been amazing. And the thing that I want to, Mike, you mentioned the price, for this distribution. I mean, I think we pay something to get it out on the different platforms, but I mean, we're talking like $10 or $100.
It's such a non.
Well, I guess YouTube is nothing too, using there. I mean, so we're talking about pennies that you would pick up for the cost of this, and this is really. I have a totally virtual business, and we're doing many millions of dollars of revenue and all that stuff, and 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 we're doing it through technology, Mike, that you've been really instrumental. So I want to encourage everyone to really look at this. And let me go to the next segment here, because we'll start pulling it together. And the next segment is the book, Mike. And you are prolific. I think, do you know Ned Hallowell? Have you ran into Ned at all? He's one of the top. I got to introduce the two of you guys, because he is the number one. He's a psychiatrist, the number one expert on ADD. Yeah.
Yes, I have met him before.
Yeah, and so Ned's writing a book on the mind of the entrepreneur, and he's saying, really guys wired like you and myself that have a little hard time staying focused. That you can't. It's you got a Ferrari brain. Unfortunately, you got bicycle brakes though. So you gotta put them together. But you have been really prolific, and you told me that you were going to make an offer, and I want to pull up the page on your book called Publish and Profit. I mean, this is a great book. It goes step by step, and maybe if you could tell them about this and how it might help them.
Sure. Well, here's the paperback version. What this was is this was, I think, my maybe it was my sixth or seventh book that I did in less than 2 years. So again, a huge percentage of the books I wrote at first, I wrote while I had cancer. So I like to say I've not only written books while I had cancer and recovering from cancer, but I've helped a 9-year-old girl who wrote 4 books in 3 months, all the way up to an 80-year-old woman who wrote 3 books in less than a year herself. So, and that's publishandprofitbook.com. You can have a copy for free. But here's the bottom line summary: is this ended up being really a blueprint for the formula I described earlier. And it really talks about how to rapidly create content and get it distributed so it can be seen, viewed, and listened to also on any device. So it's a great introduction to learn how to do it, and I've got case studies in there. And as you had mentioned earlier, we've tracked, that we know of for sure, we've tracked well over 300 books that were written in less than 2 years. And when we did our last version of our product and our process, we had over 100 people in less than 30 days write, publish, promote, and become at least top 10. Most of them became #1 bestseller category bestsellers with their books.
I'll bet you, Mike, you're over 1,000 too, because you're not hearing all of them. I mean, there's so many people out there that you're touching, and they're doing it. Mike, you offered also another book.
Yes.
Why don't we talk about that? What is that? Because I think this is, I mean, it's kind of applicable to what we're talking about here today.
It is. Well, the bottom line summary is, I believe one of the most powerful ways to build your expert status, your authority, and also rapidly create content that has mass appeal is through interviews. So I wrote a book called How to Be a Video Interview Pro. And this, you can get it at videointerviewbook.com. Again, you can have it for free. This is the paperback version, but you'll get the downloadable PDF along with an infographic. And it covers, the subtitle is 25 Strategies to Get Attention and Make Your YouTube, live stream, Google Hangouts, Skype interviews, and videos look or sound like a professional TV or radio show. Long subtitle. We do that on purpose because it helps Amazon index and find us, because Amazon's a great search engine partner. But what this is really about, it was the result of, after doing lots and lots of interviews and interviewing other people and also watching what I consider to be bad interviews, I did a speech at another mutual friend of ours, Joe Polish, I did a 10-minute talk. I did 25 ways to make your video, your interviews look and sound great. And it really just solved the biggest problems I saw. So I basically clicked through a keynote presentation that I built the night before I got there. It was like I'm around all these people. I know they want to do interviews. And I said, shoot, how can I support them best? I'll make a quick 10-minute talk. So I went through, and a couple people walked up and said that was the best 10-minute talk I've ever seen, and actually is one of the best speeches I've ever seen. Can you give me some more information? I said, yeah, let me just give you my keynote presentation. And then what I did is I took that talk, I had it transcribed, and that's when I decided, well, shoot, I've got a new product coming out. I'm going to use the book as a lead generator. I called up an illustrator I knew. I called up a friend of mine who's an editor, and I said, do you think you can help me crank out this book? I have to have it done by Monday because I'm speaking in Las Vegas, and I want to give it away when I'm on stage. And they said, it's a holiday weekend. And I go, all right, well then I'll just figure out a way. And they go, no, we'll help you. So the short version of the story is, edited it. I had this artist create 25, actually 50 illustrations. We put the thing together, put it on Amazon, pushed it up to bestseller status because I notified my own tribe about it, and they all, of course, bought it right away. And then I gave it away that following Monday when I was in Las Vegas. But
Did you have it printed, Mike, or did you give it away electronically?
yeah, I gave it away electronically because, generally speaking, about the fastest you can turn around a set of books, you can get them printed in 48 hours,
Yeah.
but it's the shipping that gets you. So I couldn't turn around the shipping fast
No, I just
enough.
wondered if you knew some way that I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
here, 'cause
there's a service called 48-Hour Books that does have fast turnaround. Unfortunately, they're on the East Coast, and the fastest I could get them to me was about 5 days. And they also have an approval process. So generally speaking, I've turned around books in less than 2 weeks from Create Space. And I know of people who've done it in about the same period of time with 48-Hour Books. But the great thing is you can definitely get your book uploaded and active and available on Amazon in about 4 to 5 hours usually. 8 hours is kind of what they say. And then the Create Space book can generally be active in, I've had it happen in as little as 8 or 10 hours, but usually they say 24 hours from the time you upload it until it's actually for sale. And then you can quickly order them and have them turned around and delivered in 48 hours if you get small quantity.
I mean,
but if you buy them in volume, it's $2 a piece.
Yeah,
It's crazy cheap.
This is, I mean, think of what prices Mike and I are talking about, and the timing, Mike, is. I mean, this is so surreal. 5 years ago, none of this existed, and now it does. And as entrepreneurs, boy, what a difference it can make. And I can take it. One of the books I wrote for a business that I had, a specialized financial services. I had two partners, and we just had the 25-year reunion, but we sold it 17 years ago for $25 million. And it was because somebody read that book and said, I want to own that business. You know, amazing things happen, and you don't know the value of this. Let me go to the next segment here.
Sure.
This is the application of the day, Mike. You obviously, we talked about, you do travel, and on your smartphone, what would be one of the apps that you use that your fellow entrepreneurs would find some real value in?
All right. Well, I'm a big believer that one of the greatest ways to tune your brain and become the best you is through a combination of compassion, empathy, and learning how to recognize your ego when it's getting in your way, and the fact that it distorts the true perception and your perception of reality. So in order to get past that, meditating on a regular basis. Unfortunately, as busy entrepreneurs, we always say we don't have time, my brain's too busy, I can't slow down, and it's a bunch of nonsense. So there's this app called Headspace, and they've got it's free to download the basic, and they give you 10-minute meditations that you just turn on click a play button on the iPhone or your Android device and listen to a meditation. The guy who started this business is a really fascinating entrepreneur who's a Silicon Valley. He's basically some white guy who's kind of a guru. There's no woo-woo to it. It's good, hard science. This guy will get you in a great state of mind, and every single person I've ever recommended this app to thanks me for it over and over again. I get emails, I get messages on my Facebook, just thank you for introducing me to Headspace. It's changed my life and the way I think. And also, I notice some of my behaviors that have gotten me in trouble, the way I speak, the way I treat people, the way I treat myself. And they notice changes in 48 to 72 hours. It's that fast. So Headspace is the app. Highly recommend it. The other second one, of course, we talked about was Rev.com. Get that audio transcribe tool and just record stuff and send it and have it transcribed, because it's the fastest way to create content.
No, I will download Headspace, and I'm going to continue using Rev.com. They're phenomenal. They're Silicon Valley-based, venture-based, backed firm. Let me go to the next segment, which is resources. And Mike, I'm going to pull up your new company website, and maybe just there's going to be some of the entrepreneurs who are getting excited about this online television network, and they're not sure where to go. How do they reach out to you and get involved in this?
Sure. Well, an easy way, of course, is just go to the website, which is mixiv.com, mixiv.com. So it's a mix of technology, content distribution, authority building, expert building, and a network format. That's really what the name comes from. But what's there is, first of all, you can communicate directly through me. There's a place where you can send an email, and I'll get a message from you if you want to contact me directly. And there's also a place where you can get more information on how to do webcasts. I've got a pre-recorded webcast about webcasting, and I go through what I believe are the most important elements that make them successful and profitable in the least amount of time. I talk about psychological techniques and strategies to communicate your message very rapidly, and also how to persuade and influence using the power of a format. It's really the truth is, I modeled the traditional infomercial, television infomercial, to figure out some of this stuff, and I got to be really good friends with some of the greatest infomercial pioneers who've ever walked the planet, who've generated billions of dollars on TV and adapted that to creating an interactive show, not just a traditional recording. And, I've been studying this direct response business now for going on 15 years. And actually, it's over that now that I think about it. But it's the fastest way to get your message out, to grow a business. And, I've used it to produce, I've done my typical business cycles are I'll have an idea for a product. And from the time I have the idea until there's a minimum of $1 million gross in the bank and a product created is 100 days or less. And I've done that 12 times in a row, and I've helped a lot of other people do the same thing. And that is a way I'd say, to encourage people to investigate the power of webcasting and using this model. So again, you just head over to mixiv.com. You can connect with me or get a link to that video.
No, this is great, Mike. Let me do the last segment here.
Sure.
And this is key takeaways. And I've been taking a lot of notes. And this is one of my passions, because I want to get our message out. I want to help my clients get their message out, just like you are too. And I mean, so many fellow entrepreneurs, you have the expertise already, but you don't have the authority. And that's what Mike's been talking about. You've got to build the authority. You have to publish. And we're talking, Mike has given a tremendous amount of different ways of getting out there. My favorite is really this webcast, getting out there, whether it's webinars, whether it's, live streaming, whether it's virtual conferences, whatever format, or you're creating your own TV channel, working with someone like Mike to do this. I mean, it's amazing what you can accomplish. See, money loves speed, and Mike gave the example. And I'm in Silicon Valley, and even on the early stage, all of us who are backing companies on the venture side, what we want is $1 million of revenue. There's never been a better way to prove out things for startups or for successful businesses like yours to test concepts this way and really build tremendous value. Mike, I want to thank you, and I encourage everybody to go to aesnation.com. You can see how rev.coms work. This will be transcribed. We'll have the show notes. We'll have all the links. Remember, your clients, all those future clients, future strategic partners, they're counting on you. Don't let them down. We wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com